Hello. There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. Hope everybody is doing well. We got the latest updates about Manchester United. Obviously, the big breaking news is that Bryan Mbuemo, third and final bid from Manchester United, has gone in. 65 million pounds plus 5 million in add-ons. We're going to get into that. We're going to break it down a little bit. There's been some more following updates. Hopefully, this will get done. Manchester United are aiming to get it done from what I've seen before Tuesday or by Tuesday. Hopefully, the quicker the better. I will just say, finally, thankfully, because yesterday, I mean, we were getting quite agitated about how it's been going. But we also have some other news surrounding Manchester United with some other players, including Alejandro Garnacho, potentially maybe going to Aston Villa. The story around him has obviously been that he wants to stay in the Premier League. He wants to go to another Premier League team. And we are going to see how that develops going forward. So before we get into the show and really start breaking everything down, please make sure you smash the like button because it is a big help to the channel and it helps massively. So please take 2 seconds of your time, smash that like button for us. And if you're not a subscriber and you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell icon so you don't miss a live. You get notified when we go live. And also, we got a Discord. Discord is the best way to stay up to date. We keep you up to date with all the transfer news as it comes out, as it is happening. We have a good community in there already. So Discord link is in the profile of the channel. So if you want to go in there, you can click that. You'll join. And also, we'll probably drop it in after the live. Magnifico88 says, bang, bang, Inos from deep, and this series is tied. Charlie Manley says, hey, bro, what's up? How you doing? How you guys feeling? Let me know how you're feeling about the Mbuemo deal. I'm just going to get into the news, but chat away. I'm going to get updated with basically how it unfolded and basically what we're up to right now while we're waiting for more news to come live surrounding the Mbuemo deal. So just give me a second. Let me pull this up. So obviously, David Ornstein came through with the Boomba, as they call it. And David Ornstein was the one to break it. And David Ornstein is the one that is probably leading the line right about now in terms of transfer news, specifically also around Manchester United, but in the UK as well. Many people even placing him over Fabrizio Romano. Many people getting a little bit agitated with Fabrizio Romano. Tap-in merchant, alert merchant, and all that sort of stuff. So David Ornstein came through with the Boomba today. Not for nothing, a lot of people saying that, Newcastle has helped us out there because apparently they've gone in for the player that Brentford were looking to get in. I forgot his name, to replace Bryan Mbuemo. So this is how it all went down. David Ornstein came out about 3 hours ago saying Manchester United have made an improved bid to sign Bryan Mbuemo from Brentford, worth 65 million pounds fixed plus 5 million in add-ons, and they are awaiting a response. We then also got an update from Ben Jacobs, chiming in at sort of the same time, saying it's going to be a big surprise if Bryan Mbuemo deal is not completed by early next week. Ben Jacobs also said not only are Man United optimistic of getting the deal done, Bryan Mbuemo himself has told Brentford he thinks the offer is fair and the move should happen before the USA tour. Alex Crook jumping in, saying Bryan Mbuemo is pushing hard to make the move to Manchester United happen. Standard Sport also chiming in, talking about that the third offer, again, confirming 65 million plus 5 million, and no decision yet, but the new bid matches Brentford's demands. And people basically just saying that, surely this has to get accepted now. Surely this has to be it. There was also an update basically saying that Manchester United, and from Manchester United's standpoint, this is the final bid. If Brentford reject it, it seems like Manchester United will walk away from this deal because this is what they asked for. They want 70 million. They wanted the 65 million fixed with the 5 million in add-ons. They wanted a little bit more cash in the fixed department. We have given it to them. We have given exactly what they've wanted. fair play to them. They've held out. They've been stubborn. I mean, from our end, they've been stubborn. We've also been stubborn in trying to say that we're not going to be held to ransom. But it's taken about a month and a little bit of change, and we are paying what they have basically been asking for basically a month now. So I have a slight concern in me because of how our club is and how things happen in Manchester United. I'm a little bit afraid that Brentford will reject this deal. I don't know why. Just I have a feeling that they might just reject it just to give us an FU. I hope not, and I hope I'm wrong. But part of me, and the way our club has gone, with the luck that we have, and the way that our club has sort of been enshrouded in this sort of negative sort of thing, and the positive things don't really seem to happen, there's a little bit inside of me that's saying, there's a little bit of me saying that I wouldn't be totally surprised if they end up rejecting this just to kind of spite us for some odd reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit cynical about it. Maybe I'm being a little bit sort of carried away about it. But yeah, I do think that, listen, if I'm trying to think about it logically and reasonably, I mean, they've asked for this. We've given what they asked for. I don't see why they actually would reject it. I think, as far as Mbuemo saying it's a fair deal, I think we're all saying it's a fair deal. We've given exactly what they've asked for. I don't, if they were to reject it, I'd be a little bit kind of mystified as to why in terms of on paper. But if we start going outside of paper and we start thinking about just United's bad luck in general, I could see somehow, for some stupid reason, they just literally give us one of these and tell us to go do one, and make us look like a fool and basically infuriate the entire fan base. I hope that doesn't happen. But one of the things that we did get from James Ducker in the Telegraph said that Ruben Amarim is eager to have the Cameroon international on United's preseason tour of the US and hopes the third bid will be enough to persuade Brentford to sell. You, me, and everybody else. Ruben, you, me, and the entire fan base, because when United fans say that we need the players in for preseason, we don't say it because we say it for fun. We say it because it has an actual meaning behind it. We say it because we know there is an importance. The manager knows this importance. The manager needs this sort of stuff. He wants the players, as many new players as possible, in there. For the preseason, it does make a massive help. Let me get to the live chat and we'll jump back into the news. But let me get to the live chat because I see a lot of you chatting in there. And my number one priority is always the chat. So Hesty says roller coaster feeling. Charlie Manley says we need it over the line ASAP so we can quickly pivot on to the next choice. That is a good point, actually. And kind of part of my thing is, all right, Mbuemo's done. Or at least you would hope it's done. But let's just say it's done, and they're going to accept it, right? But literally, my next feeling is next, because we are behind, and we need a big summer window, and we are playing catch up. We're playing double catch up, really. And we need the striker, so we need to move. This has held us up far too long, way longer than I would have liked, way longer than I thought it was going to take from when it first broke. I thought we would do it in about 2 weeks or so, 2.5 weeks, maybe something like that. It's been a month and change now, so we gotta get moving. So I do agree with Charlie. Richard Francis says this is good, but I almost cry. Robert Nisa says they have scam Man United again, 70 million for Mbuemo. Listen, I kind of get that, but for the fees that players are going for in the Premier League, it's not the worst. It's not the worst. I mean, he did perform quite well, especially Brentford. I mean, Brentford performed better than us, but I mean, he did have 20 goals, 10 assists last season. He was one of the top performers in the Premier League. Let's just hope that the amount that we pay for, we get some sort of return when he comes to Manchester United. By the way, please let me know if the audio is good because I do hear a little bit of crackling. If it is annoying, I will try and fix it. But yeah, I mean, listen, they drove a hard bargain, and it was a hard deal. But like I said yesterday, I think the fact in terms of optics, United spent so much time on this deal. There is no way that they can't get this deal done, and move on without infuriating the entire fan base. So they had to do something. I think they tried their best, and I do want the club to make good deals, but I also want the club to be able to move properly. And at some point, you're arguing over 5 million. Listen, it's 5 million. He's either going to hit or he's not going to hit. The 5 million, isn't really going to make that much of a difference. But in terms of what players are going for in the Premier League, from other Premier League clubs to other Premier League clubs, it's around what is being put in. Grace has put in a £5 super chat. Says, can we just appreciate Newcastle for being interested in Wisa? That's who it was. Ineos shit themselves paying the amount they wanted after all this time. Embarrassing. And many people are saying that. And maybe, we kind of have to give a little bit of a big up to Newcastle for kind of forcing United's hand a little bit. Because the news that was around in Mbuemo the other day, or the past couple of days, was that United were ready to make a third bid, but they weren't really. It wasn't really there. And then all of a sudden, just today, literally, first piece of news is that United put in the bid, and that's because apparently many people linking it, like Grace is saying, that Newcastle has put in the interest for Wisa, so they had to get things rolling and things moving because it would have complicated the deal further. And the deal was already pretty complicated and pretty stalled to a certain extent. So we might own Newcastle one. We might own Newcastle one, for sure. Richard says this is Man United for life. For life. Hesty says we could pay cheaper if they didn't put first bid so low. 45 million first bid is insane. I mean, maybe, but I listen. We're always going to try and do that. We're always going to try and go as low as we need to, and they're always going to try and go as high as possible. I think some of the circumstances didn't play into our favor. I think sometimes you need just a little bit. Listen, in every situation, you need a little bit of luck in everything, right? But other than that, you have to be prepared and you have to be competent as well. But I don't think it necessarily went in our favor, in terms of how things were developing. And also, we are always trying to fight from a position from behind. So I don't think it's a bad fee. I think he's a good player. I'm excited by him coming. I think it's a good show for United that they're getting Cunha and they're getting Mbuemo. Two Premier League sort of proven players. Hopefully, again, they work out and they actually elevate us to a certain extent. That is the hope behind it. They are Premier League proven players. That's why we're kind of moving for this. In other aspects, you could say we could have maybe got a player like him from somewhere else for cheaper. But we do need to be able to play and improve in the Premier League and compete. And we clearly haven't been able to do that. Obviously, last season we were too weak, and just not good enough in the league. So hopefully the thinking is that you get sort of these Premier League proven players and that they will be able to come in with a less time to transition. They know the football in the league. They're accustomed to it. They're used to it. They just need to sort of get used to the atmosphere of Manchester United, which is already difficult. So I think the thinking behind that, at least, I try to be fair to Ineos, and I try to be fair to all. I think the thinking behind it does make sense, in terms of going for these sort of Premier League players. Because United aren't in a good position. You get a player from the Serie A or, from La Liga or something like that. They have to come to a different league, a new league. They have to get used to the football. They have to get accustomed to a new country. But then at the same time, they also have to get accustomed to Manchester United. Manchester United, good or bad, we are a special place. We are different. There is a lot of pressure. There is a lot of, eyes. There is a lot of talk about us. So it is different than going to, a Brighton or something like that. Hesty says, I'm a bit scared as well. They reject this. Yeah, I think it's just a bit of PTSD, Hesty, of being a United fan. You know what I mean? And I get it. there's just that slight bit in there that says like, I hope not, and I don't really think it'll happen, but there's a part of me that says it wouldn't be all that surprising if they rejected, just to kind of mess with us or something like that, kind of to make us look a little bit more like a disgrace. Sort of kick us while we're down type of thing, which basically everybody loves to do because we're United, adored, love, hated, adored. Like, you either love us or you hate us. There's no really in between. There's no in between. You either love United or you hate us. So unless you're a United fan and you love us, everybody else typically hates us. So when we're down, they like to kick us while we're down. Especially because what we've done to many teams in the past. So they take the cheap shots now. Richard Francis says, yes, man United. I love the enthusiasm. Temis Ginn is here, says, please, Inos, make a plan for next season. I like Mbuemo, Emi Martinez, Simmons, Furman Lopez, Moise Keane, Ederson to United is better for next season, please. Well, there is a slight update about Emi Martinez, which we will discuss in a little bit. Richard Francis says, this guy Mbuemo will surely deliver. Let them say what they want to say. United for life. Let's go. Well, I hope so. I hope so. Grace says, if Mbuemo doesn't score 50 league goals, we sell him for 100 million to bottom top Arsenal. Lyle is here. Says, hey, Eric and all you Reds. Shout out, Lyle. How you doing, buddy? Hope everything is well. Hesty says, Gyökeres medical this Friday. I did Mbuemo. Here we go. To distract me, we do. And Grace says, Fab Bumbo, Brentford rejects United bid for Mbuemo. I don't think that's real. Grace likes to mess about a lot. But I am looking. So Ben Jacobs said 31 minutes ago that Manchester United are confident of securing Bryan Mbuemo before their US preseason tour begins, which it does begin shortly. If anybody can tell me the exact date, because I've forgotten, that would be great. I do know it starts really, really soon. So they don't have a lot of time. I think something about by Tuesday, they got to get it in. They got to get it done because we do leave soon. So Ruben Amarim has apparently sent a message to the fans in Manchester United's new yearbook saying, he has said, it's actually quite a lengthy message, so bear with me while I read this out, but this is from Ruben Amarim. This is 32 minutes ago. And his message to us is saying, fulfilling our immense potential on a consistent basis is the aim for next season. For everyone associated with football, players, staff, and fans alike, the start of the new season is a time of excitement and optimism and a time to look forward. We should not completely ignore or forget what happened last season, because there are many lessons for us to learn from where things went badly, and also from the perspective of the positive moments when we reminded ourselves of our potential to become so much better. Our energy is now focused on making sure we get closer to that potential more often and more consistently this season. We have all suffered so much disappointment and pain together last season as we went through the process of changing the way we work in our club. However, we are now in a much better position than we would have been if I was only joining this summer. Because of everything I have learned in the past 8 months and everything the players have learned about what I expect of them. One of the main things I have learned is how special this football club is and how special its fans are. I feel a big sense of responsibility to help put Manchester United back where it belongs. And like I said on the pitch at Old Trafford after our final game of last season against Aston Villa, a strong belief that much better days lie ahead. I cannot promise that we will reach all our long-term objectives this season, but I can promise that I will give everything to help put us firmly on that path. Ruben. So, I mean, listen, we know our manager. We know Ruben Amarim. He doesn't sugarcoat anything, really. He's been pretty straightforward 95% of the time that he's been here. And I think, listen, he stayed on point with things that he said and things that he's looking, and he's been saying since he's been here. I will say, um, you know, to a certain extent, it's not really a dig at him. It's more just in general. Words are cheap, kind of around Manchester United, and because we've been lied to and led down a path for so long that never really developed into anything. So my thing to Ruben is, I accept the message. I look forward to seeing what you're going to give us in this season, and obviously, at the end of the day, like I say for the players, but it goes for him as well. The results is what talks, and the performances is what talks. So I hope, that he backs it up on the pitch. I hope he backs up the part where he says that we are in a much better position. I hope that that's true. And I hope we actually are ready, and I look forward to seeing if that is a fact or not when we actually get on the pitch, because we don't really have that feeling right now. I think we can all agree as United fans. I certainly don't, because of the way we are moving in the transfer window and the expectations that we've pretty much all had after the end of last season. Um, we we still feel like we are way behind. We still feel like we need a lot more. The audio is crackling. Give me a second. Let me try and fix it. But uno momento. Yeah, so what I was saying was just basically on what Ruben has said. Like, I've always said, and I don't buy into the people that say that, he's come here for the money, or anything like that. I think he's come here because he's seen it as a great challenge. I think he respects the football club a lot. I think he's made that very clear. He loves Manchester United. Let me know if it's better, by the way. Um, and he understands this football club. But listen, it's a big job for everybody. Anybody that walks into this job at Manchester United, it's going to be a tough job regardless of who they are, because of the way we've been run and how we are run. So I respect him for this, and I hope he is able to just prove that it is an actual thing on the pitch come time. So I'm looking forward to the preseason matches. Listen, I will say this. I understand it's preseason. I understand that these games are, you know, a lot of people don't take them into an account for anything, but I do think they hold some. It does hold some value, because it gives you an indication of at least of where the players in the team are at, even if you're playing, even if only the starters are playing 20 minutes or 45 minutes a half, and teams aren't playing, you're not playing the strongest competition, or I think from the last two or three preseasons, I think we've seen, because like last season, when we started with Ten Hag, we had a very bad and poor preseason, even sort of the first one. And we started very slow in both seasons, or three seasons under Ten Hag. They weren't really that great. And then that translated into the first couple matches of the Premier League. So I think it does have an importance to that factor of at least you can gauge the squad and the team a little bit. So I'm looking forward to see them play to that aspect, because I want to see us. I know they don't really mean that much, but I'd like to see us go out there and looking pretty sharp and winning the matches. I know they don't count for anything in preseason, but it would just give a more positive vibe to the fans if we're going into the preseason matches and we're actually winning them and we're performing quite well. If we're scoring two or three goals and we're actually doing good and players are actually putting in good performances, it'll have a build up to the first match. And obviously, our first match isn't a, it's not going to be a walk in the park. We have to play Arsenal. And we have probably the toughest fixture list in the first 5 to 8 matches in the Premier League. So we need to be on point. We need to be on key. And my hope is that we are, because again, like I've always said, it's not about Ruben per se, because I want Ruben to do good, because if Ruben does good, that means that our team is doing good, which means that we can actually be on a path with some direction in it. If it starts off bad and it goes bad, we're going to end up in a situation where we're not going to know what's happening. There's going to be a lot of chaos, and it's not really a path to walk forward that is going to lead to something of positivity. And we need to kind of sort of get out of that. So hopefully they're ready. And hopefully Ruben has prepped them as good as he possibly can. And hopefully this time, like he said, basically, hopefully, and we've said this, hopefully him coming in during November, towards the end of November, and him sort of learning the league and learning the players, and us suffering through that period, hopefully that actually does pay off for this season. Hopefully he's further ahead. Hopefully the players will actually be further ahead. That is the thinking. That's always been sort of the thinking behind it. And it does make sense on paper, but at the end of the day, real life is real life, and sometimes things just don't go that way. But hopefully, they do. Let me get to the chat again. Lyle says the bid is likely to be accepted. Well, we hope so, because damn. Well, I mean, yeah, it's not the strongest vote of confidence, but that is what they're saying. And again, on paper, makes sense. We've given them what they wanted, what they've asked for, what they've been asking for. So there really shouldn't be any real reason other than them being just greedy or dickheads about it and basically saying nah, and rejecting it. Lyle says, Eric, is your phone on charge or charged? It's charged. It's charged. I fully charged it today. I made sure. So we don't got to worry about anything happening other than the internet cutting out. If the internet cuts out, there's nothing I could do about it. But if we do, by the way, just heads up, if we do cut out at any moment, stick around for 5 minutes, because I will try to jump back in live. So just a heads up, just in case, because you never know. Gray says, bring me Pickford and DCL, Jackson, and Ben Chilwell. Grace, do you want us to get relegated? Do you want us to get relegated with that list? Do you want us to get relegated? Because that's what we'll end up with those players. I mean, if we're going to do that, we'll get Pickford, we'll get DCL, we'll get Jackson, we'll get Ben Chilwell, and we'll sack Ruben Amarim, and we'll go get Gareth Southgate from whatever hole he's in, because no one's heard of him or seen him. We'll go get him, and we'll bring him in. So Richard Francis says, believes me or not, will bombard every net with his powerful left foot. He does have a powerful shot, and he is a strong guy, says Robert Francis, and so very excited. Well, I agree. I mean, I like him. I always liked him. And I think he has the profile for exactly what we need in this team. Other than the fact that, he plays in the 10, he also can play winger, and maybe we'll see him there. He is a strong guy. He has the physicality for the Premier League. His build is one that he's slightly a little bit stocky, but he's still quick. So I think it is a good buy. And he's been performing week in, week out in the Premier League. So I actually, I think it's an interesting point now, because a lot of the players that we've been sort of getting in the past, like Ugarte or De Ligt, or, some of these other players, even like a Dorgu or something, we've gotten them from other leagues, Rasmus included. And there's always that adjustment period and stuff like that. Players like Anthony. I think this opens up an interesting point, though. We know how Cunha and we know how Mbuemo have been performing in the Prem. So if we are really that bad of a football organization at this moment, I think the proof will be in the pudding with these two players, because they've already performed and played well in the Prem. they come to us, there shouldn't really be that much of problems. They should be looking pretty good already. So those two players for me is going to be interesting to watch them and see how they perform, because I think that will give a bigger indication. Is it really us as a football club as a whole, or is it more of just we've been really actually just buying the wrong player, the wrong type of player, the player that doesn't fit the Prem, the player that doesn't actually fit our system or actually fit what we need? Um, or a player, yeah, or just pretty much a player that doesn't really necessarily belong in the Premier League, and isn't a good buy for the Prem. Um, if I pronounce your name wrong, I'm sorry. Well, I'll just go with this because it's easier to say. Kadara says 70 million for one season wonder. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Listen, his breakout season was last season. It was his best season that he's had. The seasons before weren't as good as that, but they were pretty decently good. They weren't horrible. It wasn't like, he did absolutely nothing the previous seasons. But he's built up to it, and he's been in the Prem for what, 3 seasons now. So um, hopefully, um, hopefully he comes to United and he performs, but we won't know till he goes out there on the pitch and he puts on the kit for us and he performs. And hopefully it's not a one season wonder. Hopefully he does add much needed quality to the squad that we have. Gray says if we lose to Leeds, Amarim is finished. I'm writing my letter to Ineos. Well, yeah, I mean, we don't want to lose to the rivals. Lyle says, drop a like. Yes, if you haven't smashed the like button, please make sure you smash the like button because it does help the channel grow and it is important. YouTube does take that into consideration. So please get the likes up. Greatly appreciated. He also says subscribe and get into the Discord. And he has dropped the link for the Discord for you guys. If you're not in the Discord, you should get in the Discord. It's the best way to stay up to date with us. And also, we have very good just general talk while we're not live. So, and we keep you up to date with the news as well. So make sure you click that link, join the Discord. We welcome you in there. Grace says, but we can win the championship. I don't know. You think we could win the championship, but not with the way we performed last season. And Grace says, strong and lean FC, we're back. Well, listen, I know, that's the ongoing running joke, but it is, let's take the piss out of it for a second. We do need to be strong and we do need to be lean. We do need to be fit. We need to be able to run, but we also have to have physicality. And that's one of the things, or a couple of the things that we've been saying last season. There was a few matches, particularly the one that sticks into mind was Newcastle. When we played Newcastle, I mean, they completely dominated us. They outmuscled us all over the pitch. They bullied us all over the place. They were way quicker than us. And those are two of the characteristics that we need that on a week in, week out basis to actually perform in the Prem. The Prem is the strongest league. It is the quickest league. You have to have players in your squad that have the physicality, but also have the quickness, coupled with obviously ability. But at the very minimum, they have to have strength. They need to be able to hold the ball up. They need to be able to win 50-50s. They need to be able to get in there and battle it out with other players from the opposing team. And if you don't have that, then we're always playing from behind again. So it's good that they're showing up and they look lean. Hopefully, it will give us an extra boost because we need all the help that we can get for sure. So Grace has joined the Discord, but if you talk crap, I will bully you. And she has also given the link to the Discord. So make sure you get in there and make sure you smash the like button. We had a couple more updates that I need to get. So let me pull that up real quick. Come on, internet, work better. So one of the things, switching gears just a little bit and going away from Mbuemo to a couple other news. Where did that story go? So one of the things was that, there's been talk about Emi Martinez and Andre Onana. Obviously, Andre Onana has gotten injured. and he's not going to be available for preseason, which kind of, there was already discussion about the goalkeeping position, but it kind of lit it up more because, he's going to be missing preseason. So should United definitely now even more go in for a goalkeeper now that Onana's out? I think my initial thoughts was it's probably a perfect chance. I mean, you're not going to get rid of Onana, but like I've always said, you go and you get the second keeper, somebody that can actually take his spot, because I always said I don't think Binder can take his spot and won't take his spot. And I think Binder probably has to go and Binder has to be sold. And I think I think now is probably a perfect opportunity. I mean, even for Vitek or somebody. I mean, I saw one of the stories, and many of you have been talking about Vitek for weeks, months. And one of the stories finally about Manchester United was that Vitek might be given a chance on preseason. And, whoever it is, whatever it is, if we do go with Vitek, I hope the guy plays great, because I think this is a perfect opportunity for somebody to come in and kind of take that position almost immediately. And it's kind of been a little bit taken out of Manchester United's hands or Ruben's hands to make that decision. Because if Onana is not available to play and you go with Vitek and Vitek performs excellent, I think then Vitek should probably earn the right to start the season. And I think Vitek should probably take the starting spot. And that way it's like, well, listen, it's, you go to Onana and you go, we plan to start with you. You had an unfortunate injury, but this is football and this is how things work. And he's been performing very well, and you've been out, and he needs to have a go. And we're gonna give him an opportunity, and you're gonna have to deal with it. And see what happens. If they don't go with Vitek, my thing would be definitely go get a second keeper, somebody that can actually play the position in terms of sweeping, but also shot stopping, and do the same thing, but with them. But there was an update somewhere with Emiliano Martinez, because obviously he's been linked heavily to Manchester United. It's right here. So this came from Xerxes, and there was updates a day or two ago basically saying that United are pushing more for Martinez and that it's getting more likely. But Xerxes has popped up about an hour ago or so and said Emiliano Martinez will not join Manchester United as long as Andre Onana stays at the club, which is sort of an interesting update. I don't know if that's because United are saying that because that's kind of two number one goalkeepers, and what do you do with that? Because I kind of think, I don't know if that's coming from Emmy's point of view, basically like, I want to be the starter. There's no chance, if you can't guarantee for me to be the starter, I ain't gonna come. And United basically saying, well, we can't guarantee you because we already technically have a number one, and he's going to be here and he's on a certain wage and stuff like that. So I do just, Manchester United do need to get some sort of another goalkeeper, though. I mean, we moving on from Mbuemo now, we got to complete the cycle for Manchester United. We need to get the striker. We need another midfielder, like many of you have been saying. And we also then need a goalkeeper. And, we probably need more than that. But realistically, I think at the most, striker, center mid, and hopefully, maybe potentially a goalkeeper. But I think it's stretching it a little bit. One of the other pieces of news from Hurst class is that apparently Aston Villa want to sign Alejandro Garnacho. I think I talked about that a little bit. I don't know what's going on with Garnacho, because you would think that out of all the players, considering that he's young and he still performed pretty good last season, even though he was quite frustrating, but the numbers were there. And at times he was pretty on point. You would think that Garnacho would be one that we would be able to do quite easily, and it hasn't gone that way. I mean, the fact that he's young and that he has potential, and that he is sort of dynamic and a bit of explosive, and he looks much better than, let's say, to Sancho or maybe to a Rashford because his wages aren't that high and stuff like that, and he has had a better time. You think that this would be one that we would have maybe already been able to figure out? I don't know. I don't know if maybe now it shifts and maybe we see a couple sales go out. I mean, we have to sell to kind of get the next players. Kind of like, Lyle is saying, center mid next. He wants a center mid next. To get any player going forward after this, we need to sell. So I don't know if now maybe we'll see things ramp up. Maybe for Garnacho, there's been talk about Sancho going to Juventus. Juventus apparently are looking to sign about two wingers, um, and Sancho being one of them. We are apparently willing to pay. We have to pay Sancho a compensation fee of about 4.5 million. I will say it's not ideal, and I get if people say don't pay it or they don't want to pay it. I get it, but at the same time, I'll say at this point, pay the damn thing because I want him gone and I want it over. I've been wanted it over for a really long time. I'm tired of it. And he needs to be gone. So whatever we got to do at this point, I'd rather get some type of a fee and pay a little bit of money than have him basically being stuck, end up sending him on loan, have him run down the contract, and basically just make it a situation. So hopefully that deal does go through. Grace says, would you say Ineos has backed on Marino spending over 120 million on two players? Not. Um, I mean, it's a good question. Grace, I don't think it's enough, to be quite honest. I don't think it's enough in terms of the context of when you look at what he is as a manager and the way he plays and what they know and how things have gone last season. Um, it is a good chunk of money because again, it's 120 million on two players. But my thing is more of it's more of a numbers game in terms of the amount of players and not really the amount of money. I think if they spent 120 million on five players, I would probably lean more towards I would say that they've backed him because I think he needs as many people as possible. They obviously have to have a certain level and they got to check certain boxes. But for me, if you say we end the transfer window on two players, I don't think it's enough for him because of the way he plays and the way we're going to play and the way we do play and what he needs from them. And I've always said for quite decent amount of time now that I think for him to have the best possible shot in succession, and if you're going to do what they've done, which is they've gone with him and the way he plays, you need to get four or five players because four or five players will make a difference in the squad. I mean, at the very least, it's half of a starting 11. We then also have the players that we got last summer who are going to be in their second year. We're looking at people like Ugarte to have improved performances. Delit hopefully stays fit and is a good character. We're also somebody that we've kind of forgotten about, Lisandro Martinez. Hopefully he stays fit and he can be an important player. We're looking for Xerxes to do better. He started off the season very poor and he got better as time went on and then he got injured. So we're hoping he comes through as well. Um, and even Dorgu, who we signed in January, who I think he has the potential. It's there. He's a bit rough around the edges. I like his mentality. I like his attitude in terms of making the forward runs and trying to get forward. I think he's good at dribbling and I think he's good at getting in dangerous areas. He has to work on his passing and he has to work on his crossing. The final third passes has to be better from him. Basically from everybody, but specifically for him. He already makes good forward runs and he likes to get up there and he gets in some good positions. He just needs to make that final ball a thing. So, um, but to answer your question, Grace, I think they are they are backing him. They are in the process of backing him. I think they are trying to back him, but they need more. For me personally, to feel sort of better about the situation, and it hasn't been ideal because I would have liked to have minimum, I guess, 3 players for preseason, possibly 4 if I'm being a bit, greedy. Um, but where we are at the point we are now, I will say I will say, listen, preseason, obviously, it's not going to happen, but they have to try to get in 4 players by the time we start the league. The first match, we have to have 4 players in, um, at the very least. And if we have money or we can make a move for a fifth, then do it by the end of the window. And when the window ends, if you say we've gotten 4 or 5 players, I'll say, well, you know what? It didn't go the way we necessarily wanted to in terms of speed or time. But they've done pretty much what I think is what is needed to happen, which is to get him 4 or 5 players to give him the best possible opportunity in making the changes that we need. Grace says, "What about Real Madrid's second keeper, Lunin?" I mean, he is a good keeper. Um, I don't, I don't know if there's any chance of United getting him. I wouldn't be against it. I think he is a good goalkeeper. Um, he's quite big, which is good. I don't know, I'm not one to analyze keepers, so I don't know how he is in terms of, because we have a problem with Onana. Obviously, he's a bit big, so he's a bit slow to get the ground, and also he's not the best in reading shots, so he guesses a lot of times. But I know that Lunin is sort of a very good shot stopper because of his size. I just don't know how he is in terms of low shots to the ground. So, um, Elias is center mid after Mbuemo. And Gray says, "Would you sell Martinez next summer with 1 year left? He has really earned. Has he really earned an improved contract?" It's a difficult thing because I think I think Martinez, I think there's a good player, Martinez, but obviously the injuries have been a problem. And I don't know how you necessarily go about it because I kind of sort of agree, Grace, that his time at United has been, while he's been available, he's played pretty good. And there's been some moments where he hasn't been so great, but I think that's because the length of injuries he's had coming back and he has to get up to speed and the severity of the injuries, it kind of set him really back. But once he was getting into a rhythm, he was one of our strong players. He does have sort of a good an elite mentality, a strong mentality. Um, but I guess it would probably depend, Grace, on how this season goes. I mean, if he's able to stay fit and he's a strong player, I think he sort of makes an argument for maybe an extended contract. I wouldn't go. I would try and argue in terms of not bumping up the wage too high. Obviously, they're going to want a pay increase, but I think you would have to fight it and be like, listen, we'll give you an increase, but it can't be something massive because you've been unavailable for basically 2 seasons in a row. Um, but if he gets injured, I think, listen, if he gets injured anything like he's gotten injured in the past 2 seasons, I think he's done. But then comes up the problem of, well, now it's a player that's been injured severely 3 times in 3 seasons in a row. He has 1 year left on his contract. How do you move him on? What sort of interest is they're going to be in? Because I don't think there'll be a lot. And I think we're probably going to find ourselves in a situation like we find with some of the players that we have now, where we might look to move him on, but we probably don't have a good deal sitting there. So I don't know. Chad says, "If you smell," and Grace says, "What Ineos are cooking," and Chad says, "Cooking curry in a small pan." Definitely in a small pan right now. I would say that they are definitely cooking. Let me see if we've gotten any other updates while we've gone live. Just in general, it's been a little bit quiet. I know it's quite early, and we'll probably get more updates later. But the reason why I'm live now is because I do have something that I got to do later on. It's my uncle's birthday today. So I got to go celebrate that. And that's at 8 p.m. here. We are 1 hour ahead of the UK. So I had to go live now, which will probably get more news while I'm not going to be able to be live. Um, a piece of news that has come out for you youth lovers out there, which will probably, um, okay, I thought maybe it was permanent, but Dan Gore has completed a second successive loan move to Rotherham United in for the 25-26 season, having initially joined the League One side in January. Hopefully, he stays fit because he's suffered a couple injuries and some setbacks, and people talk about him highly, and they want him to pull through and come through. So hopefully he's able to actually stay fit this season. Hopefully he doesn't have any serious injuries. Hopefully he has a good loan, and maybe and hopefully that will lead him to sticking around at Manchester United. Um, there's a piece of news here um, coming about Jadon Sancho to Juventus, saying Juventus are apparently edging closer to a deal for Jadon Sancho. Talks with Manchester United and the players' camp are progressing fast, with the contract and a fee nearly agreed. Just one key detail left to resolve before the green light. Optimism is growing, and that's coming from Team Talk. So hopefully that one gets done because I'm tired of Sancho, and I would like to see him go. Um, and we need sales anyway. So um, I see something here. Um, I have a question for the chat actually pertaining to the striker. Many people have talked about Mateta. It's been a little bit quiet on his end. And maybe we'll see it heat up now that once Mbuemo gets done. But if we were to go for a striker, I'm going to ask the chat. I can't run a poll because I don't know how to do it on mobile, but just get in the chat. If we were to go for either Ollie Watkins or Mateta, which one would you prefer to sign? Which one would you think is the better signing? Because I think there's probably about three strikers that I take at this point, and the rest of them I wouldn't take. I wouldn't take. And the three probably I'm looking at is a Mateta, a Watkins, and maybe if there is a possibility, a Sesko. But I know Sesko is going to cost a lot of money, and I don't know if we're going to be able to afford that or do that deal. Considering Arsenal weren't able to do that deal and they got money. So I mean, I'd probably be in for those three. Um, I think everybody else, obviously, like Jackson or Calvert Lewin, or Callum Wilson or whoever, I think are way beneath what we need. And I wouldn't like any of those. But I have a little bit of reservation about Ollie Watkins because while I do think he is good, I'm not really liking the price. I think probably Mateta would probably be the better option there. And then I think Sesko is the younger guy. He's quite he's big. He's got a crazy jump on him in terms of headers. We don't cross the ball though, so it's sort of a problem. But maybe we cross the ball more with him there. Um, but yeah, I seen something pop up and it just made me think of kind of interested to know what people feel in terms of the striker because I think that's where we're heading next. Even though Lyle wants a center mid, and maybe a couple people want a center mid, and there's some people out there that they want the goalkeeper next. But I think we're heading for the striker, and I do think that we need to head for the striker um, because I've always said we needed the striker. I think the striker will help massively if we can get the guy that puts in some goals. I think those goals win you games. My mentality is always attack is the best defense, and I do understand the midfield part because it is the engine and it is important, right? And we need to move on that front as well. Um, but I think about last season, and I think that there was quite a numerous amounts of matches where we literally couldn't score, and I just felt like if you get a goal, it changes the whole dynamic of the game. Even if we do make some mistakes in the back or we do get a little bit outplayed in the midfield, we'll still lose matches, we'll still drop points. But I don't. I think if we had a guy that was able to put in the goal earlier in the game, we maybe wouldn't suffer, you know, one or two stupid goals, I think maybe it would give us a little bit more confidence. So I feel like if we can get the striker, um, it'll do us wonders. Um, I'm seeing something here. What's this about? Um, what's this about? So David Ornstein said apparently Sir Jim has ordered players to try to maintain their game kits from next season. Uh, in parentheses, wash and reuse after every match in a further efforts to cost cuts by reducing kit production for players. I'm sorry. What did I just read? Is he telling the players that they have to wash their own kits? Is he telling the players that they got to go home and wash their own kits? I would love to know how much money that saves us. Are you telling me Sir Jim has sold the washing machines at United? Uh, has he fired the kit people? Uh, my head hurts now. My head hurts now. My head literally hurts. He's telling the players he's got to wash their own kits. He's ordered the players to maintain their game kits from next season, wash and reuse after every match. So we're not giving them new kits every match. They're going to have to reuse the same kits for the entire season. I mean, listen, the players' wives ain't going to be happy about that. This extra laundry they're going to have to do. Um, this extra laundry for the ones that don't have wives or don't have a girlfriend. They're not going to be happy about that because they're going to have to do their own laundry and more laundry. Unless they got somebody to do it for them. I don't know. They got money. They might have a maid or some shit. They might have a housekeeper or something. Maybe they got people to do laundry for them. Some of them might not though. Some of them might not. Just because you have money doesn't mean that you have maids and stuff like that. Everybody is an individual, but yeah, I mean, we try to be happy about something here at United, but we're finally looks like we're finally going to get a player that we've been trying to get for a month and a half, and we can move on to the next player that we need. And then you get a piece of news like that where Sir Jim is telling the players to maintain their kits because we need to save money. And they need to wash their own kits. You literally cannot make this shit up if you tried. If you asked AI to make up you know, a skit or something, it literally wouldn't even come up with something like that. It's just, it's funny, but it's not funny at the same time. It makes me want to cry, but if I'd rather laugh. If you don't laugh, you cry, and I'd rather just laugh because I don't want to cry. Um, I'm just scrolling for more news. Fabrizio posted something. Anybody that's still holding out any hope for Osimhen? Negotiations between Napoli and Galatasaray for Victor Osimhen are again underway right now. Napoli sent their counter proposal to Galatasaray, ready to make a decision soon on new conditions. Osimhen keeps waiting, so I don't think there's any chance really left for Manchester United in that aspect. Um, What else do we got? There was a couple more stories. I lost them because this is what happens when you have them in the timeline. So let me just click on this account and let me see if I can find them because I did see a bunch of them at one point, and they have gotten buried under the avalanche of shit. Um, we were linked to Estepan as well. I don't know how concrete that was, but apparently AC Milan has submitted an initial offer to Brighton for Estepan, who has been linked to Manchester United. So maybe our name's being used again, or maybe we're set to miss out. One of the pieces of updates that we got from Hurst Class as well. This is not really have to do with like transfers or anything, but apparently there has been a reorganization of the facilities so that players go through the locker room, the gym, the pool, and the medical and massage areas in the correct order before heading to the fields for their training session. State of the art cryogenic chambers have been installed and the gym facilities have been updated. The pool has been redesigned as part of the renovation. Well, that I'll take as a positive, at the very least. I mean, the players might have to wash their own kits and maintain them now, but listen, from the last time when Ronaldo spoke and did the interview, and he said the gym was still the same and all the equipment and all the shit was still the same. I mean, we've needed this. So I know it sounds a little bit stupid, the first part, in terms of that they've reorganized it so that the players walk through in the correct order. I mean, it makes sense. I guess people will probably make fun of it. It does sound a little bit dumb, but in terms of the fact of that we've got new cryogenic chambers that are apparently state of the art, and that the gym facilities have been upgraded, and the pool has gotten a redesign. I mean, this shit should have been done, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but at least it's getting done now, and we are at least making slight improvements in areas that I guess we can. And I said that yesterday. I said that on the show last week. Not everything's going to be perfect. I get that, but Ineos, give us something. Give us a slight sliver of something somewhere where we could be like, all right, they're not doing this, but at least they've done this. Um, so yeah, I mean, at least they're doing that. Ben Jacobs had a couple updates. This is where I saw the thing about Sesko, which is why I mentioned Sesko. Ben Jacobs, who, to be fair to Ben Jacobs, he's actually been doing pretty good on the Manchester United news this summer, and I think he's jumped a couple spots in terms of credibility. He said that, in quotes, "I still think there might be legs to Manchester United and Benjamin Sesko." So let's see. I would like Sesko. It has to be for a good price. I think the price that they were asking for, RB Leipzig, I think is a bit ridiculous in terms of his performances and his goal returns. I think it's too high. But if you can do a deal for a good price, I wouldn't be against it because I think he is actually a good player, and actually it just fits the fact that he is young, and he has certain good attributes, and I think he'll be able to put the ball into the back of the net. So this was what I wanted to. This is what I mentioned earlier, but I couldn't. I didn't have the source for it, but I just found it now. Is that yeah, so Manchester United will walk away if Brentford outright reject the third bid for Mbuemo and says it's not near the valuation structure. That is from Ben Jacobs. Um, so he did give that update. He also did give an update saying that it's about Emi Martinez, saying it's more about Emi Martinez pursuing Manchester United more than they are pursuing him. So I mean, that doesn't give me the boost of confidence I want surrounding the goalkeeper because it seems like United are kind of happy with the goalkeeping situation, which I don't agree with. And that Emmy is the one that wants to come to us more than we want him, which I don't want to hear because I want to hear United are certainly definitely interested in a goalkeeper. Um, so we got a little bit more about the training ground. So United's new £50 million training ground is complete with its barbers. Is set to open next month when the squad return from the U.S. tour. So the players can get their fresh cuts now, at the training ground. I mean, some of the details is it's just quite laughable. It sounds like a joke, to be quite honest. I mean, I don't really give a shit if they have a barber in it or not. Good for them. I mean, the cryogenic chambers and gym equipment, obviously, that's a boost, and I'll take that, and I like that. But telling me they got a barbers in the training ground now, it just sounds like a joke. Like, How does that fucking matter in any way? Like, who cares? Who gives a shit? Really? I mean, the players, I guess, they'll give a shit because they're the ones that use it, and they're the ones that are there. But in terms of football, I mean, how does that do anything? Um, So Fabrizio did say that Onana's injury won't keep him out for too long, just a matter of weeks. The money reserved now will be invested on positions that are considered crucial, like in Mbuemo. Um, and Fabrizio also said there are no negotiations between United and Villa for Martinez. The club has all the information from discussions in June with his entourage. So it doesn't look like it's going to happen, because I think for Martinez to come, I think that would mean that Onana has to go, and I don't think that Onana is going to go, especially now. I mean, it was a bit of a long shot before, but the fact that he's injured, I just don't think there's any way that I don't think there's any way that it can happen. Um, Now. So I think this Martinez thing is probably dead in the water as of right now, unless something else develops. Um, and also apparently Jadon Sancho was pictured with Malacia pulling up in the car, Sancho driving, Malacia in the passenger seat. Apparently they pulled up, and the so-called five, which is Malacia, Sancho, Rashford, Garnacho, and Sancho. Oh, and Anthony. Forgot about Anthony. Apparently, they all reported back to Carrington yesterday. So they continue to train away from the main group, as they should. I don't think, if you're not part of the plans, they should not be anywhere near the first team squad. They shouldn't be training with them. They shouldn't be in their ears. They're not part of the squad. I think it's a wasted time and effort. And also, I agree with Ruben, and I would stand as far as they shouldn't be coming on tour. We should be getting them out as quickly as possible. Here is that update, by the way, when I spoke about Vitek earlier, just on Onana, saying Onana's injury has raised the question of whether Vitek or Harrison would be ready to deputize during preseason. United are well stocked for backups in Binder Heaton and Dermot Mee. With the latter now serving as the first team training goalkeeper, it may leave only one spot open to either Vitek or Harrison. Um, We did also have an update on Sakou Kone, saying Sakou Kone's readiness for first team play is under assessment, with options including a loan or another season, mainly with United's under 21s. So I guess we'll see what happens in preseason. There was an update also about Toby Collier, saying options remain open as to whether Toby Collier will stay, be sold, or leave on loan. There is still a possibility that Amos goes out on loan. If it transpires, his playing time is likely to be limited as a result of Leon's arrival. Well, that's interesting. So, because I didn't really know what was going to happen with Leon, but I guess he's probably going to be involved in the first team more so. So, but I would still, I mean, so we'll have Dorgu, we'll have Leon, which is two. Shaw is the third, but he's not reliable, and you can't count on him in any sort of way. Uh, maybe you do loan out Harry Amos. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think if he gets perfect game time, plenty of game time, I think it's perfect for him, because I think he needs more game time. So I don't want to see him sit at United and not play. I think he showed some good things when he had a couple chances. He needs more work. He needs more game time. He needs to develop more. So if he's not going to get at United, I don't really want to see him with the U21s. I think we should probably just send him out on loan somewhere. If we could, the championship, I think, would be great. Um, and Ruben Amarim is apparently evaluating Diego Leon to determine if he remains with the first team or moves to the under 21s. He is not going on loan and will stay to adapt to English football. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Let me get to the chat because we've done enough. We've done lots of updates. So, um, let's see. Lyle says, happy birthday, Uncle. Yeah, Uncle Peter. It's his birthday today. My uncle, Uncle Peter. Shout out to Uncle Peter. His birthday today. Grace says, this is going to be a rough season. I want our youth to go out alone. They don't need to be a part of this season. I think maybe we could use a couple of them, though, Grace. My thing has always been Ruben kind of did. All right, are we back now? Um, so what I was saying was about the youth. Um, sound is back. Okay. So what I was saying about the youth. Sorry about that. Microphone died. Um, So what I was saying about the youth was I think last season was not a good time. I think this season you can make an argument for it. We're starting Ruben's having the preseason. We're starting from the beginning. You use the youth on the preseason. If any of them show anything like they can handle it, they can do what they need to do, then I think you can integrate them from the beginning. I think it's not a bad it's not a bad time. There are less matches to be played considering we're not in Europe, and we could maybe put them in the cup games, and also maybe there's some injuries along the way, so maybe and you never know because I mean if you look at like players like Heaven was a bit of a surprise. I mean Heaven got his opportunity because of injuries, but Heaven took his opportunities, sort of like kind of like Kobe and a little bit like Garnacho, like so sometimes there are some positive things to come out of it. I think we can't be necessarily afraid. I think you just have to plan properly, and life is life and football is football. It's it's a cutthroat world out there, but it's also a cutthroat game. And I think we can use some of the youth. And I would like to see it because I always said, I think for Ruben, he had some criticism last season about not really wanting to use the youth. And I always said, I didn't feel comfortable. He didn't either. But I think this season, I think he can do it. So, Grace says Kakune, Kukonki. I'm gonna mess his name up all the time. Kokonki, Amaz, Kone, Obi, Fletcher, Montanto, etc. Well, my whole thing, Grace, is listen. If they're not going to get the game time, then loan them out. I think that's probably my biggest factor for them. If they're not there, if they're not in contention to be able to fight for a position, and actually get some good game time, then there's no reason to hold on to them at the club, and we should probably loan them out because the more game time they get, the better. They can develop better. So, um, Chad said Mateta because I did ask the chat Mateta or Ollie Watkins. Chad said Mateta. And Chad said we should go for Kone from Roma, and one of Roma's center backs. Um, yeah, I think Chad. Like, I'm not I'm there with you. Like, we do need more. I just don't think I don't think a center back is going to happen this season. I don't think it's going to happen. So, um, it's probably one maybe in January if we have money, maybe for next season. I don't think we'll manage to get a center back. I don't even think we're probably looking at one. You never know; they could sort of pull out of left field, but I think from what we've been told so far, it's 2 10s, a striker, a centre mid, hopefully, and if possible, some type of a goalkeeper somehow, some way, somewhere. So, Gray says we're not doing anything in the mid because it's up to the two cams and the centre defensive mid to prove themselves day in, day out. Bruno will keep his place week in and out. Well, it's going to be interesting now because is anybody actually for sure how we're going to do things? Does everybody think that Bruno is going to play center mid, or is Bruno going to play the 10? Do you think that he has made up his mind in terms of that he's going to play Bruno center mid? And play Cunha and Mbuemo as the 2 10s, and kind of start like that? Or is Bruno going to keep his place and we're kind of going to rotate between Cunha, Bruno, Mason Mount, and Mbuemo there? Because I actually, I always give you my opinion when I think I know of what I know, but I actually am a bit puzzled on that because I actually don't know what he's going to do in that circumstance. I don't know if he's going to keep Bruno as one of the 10s or he's going to move him back. I think he can make an argument for both because he moved Bruno a couple times to centre mid, and was playing other people at 10. But Bruno also played 10, and many people argue Bruno is a 10, not a centre mid. And some people say they like Bruno better as the centre mid and not as the 10. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but it definitely makes one of an interesting sort of discussion there. People saying Sir Jim is shameless for the shirt thing, 100%. Nabakoza Mira says, I want no Mbuemo deal. Well, hopefully soon. We're waiting for more updates, but we'll see what happened. Chad says, budget season, here we go. Hesty says he's not shameful enough after letting Ruben paying for the staff's tickets to Babel and now this. But listen, we're probably going to get more things like that. Again, I know we don't like it. I'm not trying to necessarily defend it, because I don't want things like that for my football club, and I think those stories are quite embarrassing. But at the same time, again, I always try to be fair. I always try to look at it from a couple different perspectives, not just from my perspective as a fan, but from what's going on at the club. And people don't like this thing because we are a football club and not a business, but we are both. We are both. Football is a business. It has a lot of money in it. We are technically some sort of a level of a business. And I will say, from a guy that is a billionaire that has multiple businesses, I just do generally know when a business is leaking money and is losing money, they do these things. They do these sorts of things. Wherever they can scrape pennies from, they will scrape the pennies from. It's just something they do. It's just something they do. It's just a practical business thing. And I know people don't want to hear that because we are a football club. And I get that. But I'm just trying to give the other side of it, of this is where he's coming from. He's looking at it from a money aspect and a business aspect. And I guess he fully does believe in one aspect, whether he knows football or not. He does. They do believe that if they can sort out the money aspect in terms of making us profitable again and not losing so much money, and saving as much money as possible and in many areas as possible, it will benefit us somewhere down the road so that we can spend more money on players or on facilities or whatever we need to be spending money on. So I hate it. I don't like it. It's not ideal, but I sort of kind of understand it. But it's just it's really a bad look and it's sad. But I will say, like, you can give Sir Jim part of the blame because he's done the deal with the Glazers, but ultimately, I mean, the Glazers have mostly done this for what they've done for the past 12 years or so, and even before that. So Grace says, so does Mbumo's contract say join United, free washing machine and dryer included? You would hope. You would hope. Imagine imagine Mbuemo goes to complete the deal, and he finds out that he has to wash his own kit, and he's like, "Nah, fuck that. I'm not doing it because I don't got a washing machine or a dryer, and I'm buying one." And he tells Sir Jim, "Give me a washing machine and a dryer," and Sir Jim's like, "No," and then the deal falls apart. That, that would be absolutely incredible. Um, Chad says, "Snap back to reality." Oh, there goes gravity. Little Eminem reference there. We love it. Hesty says, "I wonder what Cunha thinks now. His dream club is this poor." Ah, I don't know. Again, these players live in a bubble. You know what I mean? They live in a bubble. I don't know. I don't know what he necessarily makes of it. Maybe he's just happy to be there. Maybe he's gone and he's been like, shit. He's like, some of that, outside rumors was true or whatever. And, it is a bit fucked up. But I mean, he wanted to join us. It's his dream club. Maybe he's just happy to be there, and maybe he just wants to do the best job possible. I think he's probably in good spirits as of right now because the season hasn't started and stuff like that. So, and it's new for him. So I think he's just excited to play for us as of right now, and hopefully things go well so that it stays positive. If things go bad, maybe he'll be second guessing himself, like some players have, after joining Manchester United. Lightning round with the chats because I am behind. Um, Elvis Kobe Pearson says, "Can JJ get a chance to play for his first team derby at United this season?" I think he's a bit far away from that. I mean, he's only 14. He does look like an exceptional talent. He's very, very young. Maybe he could be kind of our Lamine Yamal or something like that. But I think he's a bit too young at the current moment. But he does look like a really, really good talent for his age. So hopefully, we develop him and correctly and look after him. Lucky says, "Just in, Alex Turks talk sports. Bryan Mbuemo has been pushing moves since June." Well, that we know. Niche fan says, as a United fan, "I'm buying the Mbuemo Brentford shirt, which they are actively selling on their website. It will serve as a reminder of how Ineos sabotaged us in this window." Well, I'd rather have you buy that than buy our kit with the Mbuemo thing because, I mean, they don't deserve. We don't deserve to be giving money to Ineos and the Glazers for the way things are going. So if you're gonna buy an Mbuemo kit, buy the Brentford one, I guess. I'd rather have you buy the Brentford one than buy ours because they don't deserve us buying the merch. They don't deserve us giving them the money because they're not doing the job that would require for them to at least deserve us to be buying into it. They're just lucky that we have hundreds of millions of fans and that we overly excessively love our club, and we still buy into it. But in actuality, they really don't deserve it. They don't deserve it at all. They don't deserve the support that we give the football club because it's at the end of the day we give it because we love the football club. It's not like we give it because we love them, but they ultimately benefit from our love to the football club. So it's sort of a double-edged sword. Sort of a double-edged sword. Jarell Malmin says, "I do hear rumors about Rashford trying to go to court way to get back into the first team training." Yeah, I don't know if he has. I mean, I haven't heard that, but I don't know if he has. I don't know if he has. I don't think he would have a say in that specifically because um, it's not like we're blocking him from leaving. He is where he's at and he has options on the table. So I think if United were like throw you in the reserves, piss off, and then every sort of any club or anybody that wants him was putting in like a bid and we were just rejecting it and we were basically like we're just going to sink you to the reserves and destroy your career. I think you would have an argument there for some sort of a court case, but we're not doing that to him. He can go at any time. He had a couple different interests. I mean, there was a deal there for him at Aston Villa. He chose not to pursue it. He wants to go to Barca. Barca aren't super, super interested in him, and they're still looking around instead of pursuing him. I mean, Barca, if they want, they can go for him right now, but they're not doing so. So I don't think Rashford would have any legal case in that matter. So I think it's probably a bunch of BS, to be quite honest, Elvis. Niche fan says there's no way Rashford is getting back into the first team. Is toxic. I mean, he shouldn't. Him, but all the other players. It's not just whether they're toxic or not. They're not part of the manager's plans. They're not part of the future of the squad. There's no point in them getting back in. It's just there's no reason for it. They should and need to be all sold and be gone. Um, there is no reason for them to be involved. I don't see how any positivity comes out from having a player that the manager doesn't want and that the manager is not going to use and that the football club has decided that they are no longer part of the future. I just don't see any benefit of them being around the rest of the team. I think it probably only brings negatives. Having people that aren't fully bought in to what's going into next season just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So I don't think there's any way any of them get back in. Lucky says, please accept this transfer. You get money for Omari Hutchinson. Jalen says, Ruben is transforming the players we already got. I hope so. They look very fit and ready. And I think we will not underperform again with this team. Well, I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. The very least they could do is be fit and ready. And I think that all goes on Ruben Amarim. I think part of the argument and part of the problem is, we've argued that some of the players aren't good enough. You can only do so much with some of the players, but at the very least, they should be able to run. They should be fit, and they should, at the very least, you can make them strong enough for the most part. And I think that's one of the things that falls kind of heavily on Ruben. It's one of the things that I heavily criticized Erik ten Hag on, and that I was heavily disappointed about, was that we looked very far off of it. We looked very not ready for preseason, and that's one of the things that I will put down to the manager. They have to be fit. They have to be ready to go. They should be looking sharp. That's one of the things that you can control. That's one of the things that you do have dictation over, and you can make improvements there. So I think for Ruben, help himself. Like I said for Erik ten Hag, I said the same thing. Help yourself as much as possible. The things you're in control of, make sure that you've got them down to a T. So they're looking fit, they're looking lean. It's a positive thing. I know people have been taking the piss out of it, and I get it, but I think in terms of when it comes to Ruben, it's the very least that he can do for himself to give himself the best possible chance and to give the squad the best possible chance. Lucky says Garnacho go Villa, £46.2 million now. Elvis says, why don't we use Rashford as our number 9? No. Rashford is done. Rashford is done. Rashford is done. Ruben doesn't want him. Rashford, I don't know. I guess he'll say that he doesn't really want to leave United, but he's being forced out. But I don't think he wants to work with Ruben because Ruben doesn't want him. Why would you want to work with somebody that doesn't want you? And I've said for quite a long time, I think after seeing Marcus Rashford walk on the pitch, jogging back and stuff like that, looking really disinterested, I've always said, I think it's time to move on. I think he's got to go. He needs a fresh start, and we need a fresh start, and we need a new path. So I think they got to go. Marcus Rashford cannot wait till he goes to Bayern Munich. We'll be going to loan to buy, says Lucky. Niche fan says Rashford doesn't want to be at this club. His attitude stinks. Many people feel that way. It's hard to kind of dictate a bit because we don't know him personally, but you can make arguments for that because we've seen sort of how he's been or statements that he's made. But then at the same time, PR will come out and say he doesn't want to leave this football club. So Niche fan says Bruno will have to play 10, bench Mount. He's garbage. Well, but we'll see. Listen, you don't have to rate him, Niche fan, but there's always the possibility of what if Mason Mount hits some type of an exceptional form and he's playing and he's red hot. There's always a player might not be good, but I feel like a player like Mount, I feel like there is still a possibility that he can do something. It might not happen, and he might just be bad. But I feel like with him, I don't know why. I just feel like there is maybe a possibility that he can hit some type of form and he performs. And when that happens, um, the dynamics of the squad changes. You might get something unexpected where a player is playing better than we thought they could. I mean, I would link in it a little bit to Xerxes. I mean, Xerxes looked quite bad in the beginning of last season. I mean, he got booed at one point versus Newcastle in the first match of the season versus them, and then he got better. And people lightened up to him, and they liked him more, and they wanted him to play more. And people were, I mean, at one point, people were literally begging, like, "We need Xerxes, we need Xerxes," and that wasn't happening in the beginning of the season. So I think with players like that, something can always happen like that, where a player can hit a period where they do perform quite well or higher than they usually perform. I think it can happen with Mount. So we'll see. We'll see where they are when we start to play. Jarley says, if possible, swap Garnacho for Watkins, and we solve two problems at once. And Watkins playing with Bruno and Mbeumo and Cunha, we will have maybe the strongest attack in the league. I don't know about the strongest attack, but it would be it would be a stronger attack than we had, and it should be an attack that gets us goals. So I don't think it would be a direct swap because direct swaps don't tend to happen. Direct swaps don't tend to happen. They're very, you know, they just don't happen. It's very video game-ish. But what could happen is we sign Watkins and they sign they sign Garnacho in two separate deals that just sends one player one way and one player the other. I don't think they necessarily have to be linked to each other because I think if we want Watkins and we go for Watkins and we can agree a deal, I don't think it will really hinge on Garnacho. I think they'll just be two separate deals, but maybe something like that can happen. Um, And then, like Lucky is saying, Garnacho pushing Premier League clubs and top one Aston Villa, Chelsea, and Tottenham. He does want to stay in the Premier League, so we got to see what kind of happens with that. Niche fan says, imagine if we were owned by Qatar, we'd be talking about signing Isaac, Wirtz, Hakimi, Yamal, etc. I mean, yeah, we would probably be at the point where we have like close to unlimited money. Obviously, we wouldn't have unlimited money, but we would probably be somewhere completely different. I mean, because we wouldn't have the debt, and those guys would have done like everybody else. They would have found out ways to inject hundreds of millions into Manchester United. And with Manchester United, you could do it really easily because we have such a large fan base. And through sort of commercialism, we could have came up with some sort of a commercial deal, which would have put in hundreds of millions. I mean, kind of like Chelsea did and Bowley did with the hotels where they sold the hotels, which allowed them to circumvent PSR and FFP, and they basically got hundreds of millions in, which allows them to spend the money that they've been spending. For sure, there's ways for Manchester United to do that. The reason why we can't do that now is because one, the Glazers, but then also two, Sir Jim is there, and Sir Jim ain't gonna do. Sir Jim ain't gonna put in hundreds of millions owning 18% of the football club while the Glazers sit there and twiddle the thumbs and tell Sir Jim fix the club for us and make us money. Um, so our situation, it's not going to happen because it doesn't make sense in terms of the aspect that we have. But yeah, I mean, if we had total brand new ownership, especially those guys, they were going to pay off the debt. We were doing debt free. They would have probably bring in another 300 to 500 million immediately, and we would have been able to spend money like crazy. But that ship has sailed for now, and maybe one day, and hopefully one day. Man Lutata says, any possibility of the Mbeumo transfer failure to become a blessing in disguise for the club on the pitch? I don't know. It depends, I guess, what would happen after Man Lutata, if that was something that happened. I mean, I guess it depends what happens after that. You know what I mean? And what would the fallout be, or what follows up from that. So, um, Lucky says Marcus Rashford post picture Lamine Yamal. Marcus Rashford likes Bayern Munich. Lucky says stupid fans. Marcus Rashford wants Bayern Munich move. Well, we'll see. I mean, I read that a couple days ago, but there hasn't been any real concrete move in terms of Marcus Rashford. So it's kind of been the same. Lucky, it's kind of been the same. It's just been Rashford being linked either to Barca, Bayern Munich, but where is the actual movement on the bids? Where is the story developing? It hasn't really developed. It's kind of just been kind of a report and no follow-ups. So we're waiting and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Elvis says swap deal for Garnacho and Watkins. Can this happen? I don't. Again, I don't think it'll be a swap deal, Elvis. I don't think. I think you could see maybe one player going to one club and one player coming the other way, but I don't think the deals won't be combined. There's no need to do that, and those things don't happen really in real life a lot. I mean, when do you ever really hear of players being swapped? It doesn't actually really happen. It could have maybe some link to it because if we give them money for Watkins, maybe they use the money for Garnacho. They kind of cancel each other out or something. But they don't have to be necessarily linked together. They will be separate deals because when you link the deals, it just makes everything more complicated, and there's no need for it. So, and also, um, listen, like if we do Watkins, I mean, Villa then have the choice to do whatever they want. They can go for Garnacho. They could be like, oh, we'll go for somebody else. They don't have to necessarily go for Garnacho. So they will be separate. And then it also depends on what Garnacho wants. I mean, if he has a couple offers and one's Villa and maybe one's Chelsea, maybe he wants to go to Chelsea and doesn't want to go to Villa. I don't think Villa will hold it against us if we're in for Watkins and Garnacho's like, I want to go to Chelsea, and then goes to Chelsea. Villa will take the money from us for Watkins and they'll go do something else and get somebody else in. So, Niche fan says, I completely agree with your critique on Qatar, but what's the point in Ineos being involved? They cancelers won't inject money and they can't even get transfer deals done. It's completely pointless. But I don't know. You would have to ask, I guess, Sir Jim, or somebody would have to ask Sir Jim, what is the actual plan? And I don't think he'd probably give you the answer because I don't think maybe he can't actually give us the answer. But it's a good question, and I think we would like to know. I would like to know. I would like to ask Sir Jim behind closed doors and get a real answer of what is the thought process between you doing this deal with the Glazers and being in this position, because it doesn't make sense on a certain level. Like, and I've always said, and again, it's not to defend Sir Jim. It just from the way I see it, it doesn't make sense if you own 18% of something and somebody owns 60%, and they have fucked it up and destroyed it. Why? And you've already put in a good amount of money. Why would you put in more of your own hundreds of millions of dollars to fix their shit while they're still here and they're just like, yeah, you do it? But also we have the majority, so just fix our mess for us. Like it doesn't make sense. So I would love to know the thought process behind him doing this deal, because I don't know if he thinks like at some point eventually he'll be able to buy more shares, and because that's kind of what I feel like. I feel like he did the deal because they always wanted a partial investment. And for him, it was like, I can't get the whole thing because they don't want to sell the whole thing, but I can put my foot in the door. And if my foot is in the door, I can maybe eventually at some point put my other foot in the door and then take a couple more steps forward. But there's no guarantee that that happens because it's not in the contract that they made. There's no guarantee. The only thing that I think he had in there was there was something about if they decide that they want to sell, he kind of had like first rights to match the offer that the Glazers would get. But there was also an expiration date on that. And I think it might have expired in some sort of way. So it is a bit weird. And then the other way you could go about it is basically say, well, maybe he's just doing it for money. Like some people have said, maybe it's just maybe it's just he saw an opportunity to do a partial investment, and maybe he wants to get a return out of Manchester United in the next 3 to 5 years. Um, and that's why he has some sort of power and some sort of say in the footballing decisions. And he's looking to turn a profit. And maybe that's a reason. I don't think we'll ever know, because I don't think he'll ever tell us the real reason. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a shit situation to be in. Elias says a swap deal for Garnacho would be a waste. I mean, it would almost be kind of like a swap deal, because I think Villa want a good amount for Watkins, right? And then we want like about 50 million or so for Garnacho. So, I mean, they would almost cancel each other out if we were to do that, but there's just no reason to pair them together. It just doesn't make sense. Give me a second. I gotta make sure. Sorry about that. I had to check something real quick on my phone. Um, Hesty says Garner is an academy player. Selling him means pure profit. If we swap him, it won't be put in profit financial book. Well, I think that that's probably a fair that's a fair assessment as well. I mean, that's why. I mean, swap deals don't happen anyway. They just don't. I mean, can anybody name me the last time anybody knows of like a substantial swap deal where like two players were swapped in one deal combined? They're very very rare. They have happened, but they're very rare. And then like Hesty said, I mean, if it works that way, which common sense wise, you would think it does, because we're swapping players. It doesn't go in the financial books that way. It wouldn't make sense. So we would then therefore opt for obviously to make them separate and have the and get the money, because we need the pure profit, and we need the money, and we need it written off on the books. So Elvis says when New Trafford is going to start building. I'm not sure. Probably in the next year or two, supposedly, I guess. Since they've announced it, I'm sure they're probably putting stuff together. When they're going to actually do the actual start of the building, probably, I would say probably not for another year or something like that. I don't know when they're going to start. I don't know if they told us that they were going to start, but they announced the plans for it. But I do know that like with construction, you can announce the plans, but it then does take quite a bit of time for things to actually start going and start moving. For number one, you can have everything on the blueprint, but the actual structure of itself, you got to go there. You got to start measuring things out. You got to start, planning things out and getting production and ready, and that sort of stuff takes a bit. So I would say maybe by next year, maybe they'll start, but who knows how that's actually going to go. So Lucky says, so glad Marcus Rashford now pushing a loan to buy club like Bayern Munich. Niche fan says, so Sir Jim is basically Glazers 2.0. Could very well be. Could very well be. Niche fan could very well be. I mean, we don't know. We don't. I mean, you listen. People can make all the assumptions they want. We don't know. We're not him, and we're not buddies with him. It's like we don't. It's not like we have a chat with him. You know, sitting down at a table, and he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "I just jumped in here because I wanted the money." I mean, I think the truth always comes out in the end. So we'll know. We'll get to a point where we'll know what it is for what it is really. But I mean, many people think so. Niche fan. Many people call them glinios, and they could be absolutely right, or maybe they're wrong. My thing is, I hope that that's not the case. I hope that it's not just strictly about money, um, because it's really the only shot we got at this moment in time. So I hope that's not true, and I hope it's not real. But I'm not under any illusions that it could very well be. I'm not naive about the fact that it could well be. I can't tell you for sure 100% one way or 100% the other way. So hopefully it's not Glinios. Hopefully it's not actually Glazers 2.0. Um, it could very well likely be, but I just hope it. I just hope it's not. Um, I mean, he was not. He wasn't my choice anyway. I didn't want him. I didn't want Sir Jim. I didn't want Ineos. I wanted Qatar. I wanted because I wanted a full buyout, and I wanted the Glazers gone. So it wasn't my choice to begin with. But we are in the situation we're in, and I'll try and give people the benefits of doubts, and I'll give people opportunities to try and show me what they're about. And the proof will always be in the pudding at the end of the day, anyway. So. Um, United far from breaking ground. Yeah. Kenny Burning says, I'm really a fan. Well, so are we. Niche Fan says, I'm praying Elon Musk does a ayahuasca trip and miraculously wants to sign us. It's our only hope. But the thing is, Niche, the Glazers would have to want to sell as well. Like, this is the whole thing I'm saying. Like, they had $5 billion on the table, whether it was 5 billion, 5.5 billion, 5.2 billion, whatever the fee was. They had it on the table. It was there. It was offered to them, and they rejected it, and they went the other way. So even if maybe like an Elon Musk or somebody comes and they offer them six, just because they offer them six, you still need the Glazers to take the deal. And the Glazers are greedy bastards. And the Glazers truly believe, and this I know for sure, the Glazers truly believe that they can get a sum of up to around 10 billion at some point in the future. And this is what they're holding out for. The reason why they're still here and the reason why they're not gone is because whatever they're looking at and whatever they know and whatever people they know, their general assessment is more money is being pumped into football. There is more money to be made. And they believe that at some point they can get some substantially large, insane, crazy fee. So it's for them, it's not the point to pull out yet because they're like, we can get five, but in 5 years' time, we might be able to get eight. We might be able to get nine. We might be able to get 10 if somehow, some way. So they're still here because they expect the club value to keep going up one way or another. Now you can argue how you're going to do that if we're shit. I don't know. They have things that they look at that we clearly, obviously, we're not financial business people. We don't live in that world. We are football fans. We just want our team to play good on the pitch. Um, I can't tell you because I'm not in there. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a billionaire. I don't do these sorts of dealings. I don't know how these sorts of things work as a professional. But my indication from them is that they are here because they believe that they can make a golden 10 billion at a certain point. And for them, the more the value of the club goes up, the more money they make because they have literally invested zero. They have literally spent zero on Manchester United. So the higher the price goes, the more money they make, the bigger of a splash, I guess. I mean, somewhere, somehow, their name will go into kind of some sort of like a history of allure that they pulled off one of the biggest and best business investments and deals that anybody in the history of business has ever made, where you've purchased something in an asset and you didn't use any of your money and you don't have to pay it back. And then somewhere along the way, you walked away with $10 billion while also paying yourself dividends and all the money that they've taken out of the club. So they'll be here until they get what I guess however much money they decide is good enough for them. News fan says 10 billion for Elon is pocket change. Probably has it in Dogecoin. That is true. That is true. That is true. But I think Elon's focused on going to Mars right now. So, Lila says, but by the time we reach 10 billion, what will the rest of football be worth? Crazy thinking. Madrid might be double by then. Double that by then. I don't know. I mean, it's a fair point, Lyle. I don't know. I mean, listen, I, 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 I don't like them. I hate them. And I think so do we, like everybody does, right? And I'm not trying to no pun intended, I'm not trying to glaze the glazes, But I think sometimes people discredit them when they say they're stupid or they're dumb when it comes to money or financials, because clearly they're doing something that's working for them because they continue to make money and they clearly have some sort of a plan or an action that we as regular people and football fans are not either able to see or we're not seeing, or just because we don't live in that world. But clearly there's something there. Clearly there is something that they believe that they know that they can make the money out of, because they have destroyed us football wise. But in terms of them making money and in terms of them purchasing something that makes them money, they haven't they haven't stepped wrong. They have profited immensely from Manchester United. And obviously, their father started it, but they carried it over. So there is something there. Um, if you could ever grab one of them and get a word out of them, but they don't talk to the media and they don't want to talk to fans and they don't want to talk to the public. So you'll never get an answer from them. What we would need is somebody sort of an inside source that kind of knows the Glazers. Maybe one of their children or something going on TikTok and making a video or something like that, so we could get the information. But I mean, that's probably never going to happen. So, um, Lucky says you let me own most shares. I think club quicker than them. Hesty says the regeneration project around Old Trafford makes the club price higher in the future. Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely, 100%. That's going to raise the club value by, I mean, I don't know how many millions or billions, but 100%. And I mean, they're doing it. The Glazers are getting it done for them once again. And this is what I'm saying. Like, I think people sometimes discredit them. They are masterfully deviant, deviant masterfully at doing these sorts of weird money schemes where they don't pay for stuff. The club value gets inflated, and they just seem to, no matter what they do, they seem to somehow navigate a way to continue to make themselves more money. So, um, it's 100%. Niche fan says, I really like this channel. I realize now that we are completely screwed in that we are stuck with Gunios for basically forever. I'd rather be a championship club at this point. I didn't think it was going to take that turn. You said, I really like this channel. I took a big left turn. Well, I'm sorry to kind of put that on you in that way. That's not really my intention. Um, and listen, I will tell you this, niche fan. Um, you say forever. It's not forever, because everything on this planet and everything in this life is temporary. Some things are a day temporary. Some things are a week temporary. Some things are months temporary. Some things are years temporary. But everything is temporary. Everything in this world and in this life. So it, I don't know when. They won't be here forever. It might feel like forever. It might feel like forever. But at some point, someplace, and some time, they won't be here anymore. We just don't know when and how long it's going to be. But it is temporary. It is a long and hard chapter in our club's history. But it is one that at some point will have to end, because everything ends. I mean, if you look at it, look at our dominance in the Premier League. It was temporary, wasn't it? We had a long, nice run. We did exceptional things, and it was wonderful. But it has ended, hasn't it? It did come to an end. It took years and years and years, and it was a very, very long run. But it has come to an end, and we are now in a different period. And just even like this period, where we are in our shit period now, it will come to an end at some point as well. I mean, there's no, it just hopefully it's sooner rather than later, because it's already been quite long. My guess would be maybe around. I mean, this isn't going to fill you with confidence, but I would say I couldn't see it going past about 20 years. And I'm talking about, I know they've been here for longer, but the period that we're in is we're in the 12-year period of the shit period of being a joke period. I can't see it going past 20 years. Um, I think around then, just I don't see how things don't change after that certain length of time. It's I think that's probably the furthest things can probably go. But like I said, hopefully it goes before. So um, Niche says, no, I appreciate it. It's just that you've really put things in perspective for me. I was generally hoping things would be different soon. Well, maybe they are. I mean, we never know how life goes. I'm just a guy. I'm just a fan, like you, and we give our opinions. But that's what we have this channel for. I think one way, and I'll give my opinion, and maybe I say something that you never really gave some thought, and maybe you do the same. And that's what this channel is for. That's what we have this channel for. That's why we created this channel, so people can come here and express their opinions, and maybe they have a point of view that we don't think, and we don't, we weren't really thinking about in some way, and you can open up people's minds. That's what this channel is about. So we're glad you're here. um Lyle says the relief we as fans are going to feel once this turns around, be it Ineos getting it right or Glazers leaving. I cannot wait. I mean, when that day comes, Lyle, I can only imagine the scenes. I sometimes I picture it in my head, and I picture like large parades in the streets of like Manchester, people going absolutely crazy and nuts, and just I get chills actually thinking about it, because the positivity and the weight, that I feel like is going to be lifted up, the dark clouds that I kind of feel like hang over our club, um, they'll be gone. And I sort of like to imagine at times like the day that they do actually leave, and I just picture like people all over the place just having an absolute parade in the streets, going crazy, celebrating, hugging each other, jumping up and down out of joy. And it'll be great because it's not just going to happen in Manchester. It's going to be all over the world. You know what I mean? It's going to be a world celebration pretty much. So yeah. Lucky says he would pump money in transfers and slowly get out of debt. Well, yeah, I think a lot of us might do that as well. I mean, most of our fans, and I think that's why Sir Jim gets shit, a lot of shit, because he claims to be this lifelong Manchester United fan. And people, when I say that it doesn't make sense for him to put in the money because he only owns 18%, a lot of people don't have that. And it's a fair argument. I mean, listen, I think if we're in that position, a lot of us would probably be like, fuck the money. We want Manchester United to be good again. So, yeah, we're here with the Glazers and we got to fix their mess, but we're going to pump the money in anyway. And I think lots of our fans would probably do that if they were in Sir Jim's shoes right now. They'd be like, well, we don't really give a shit. Let's just pump in the fucking money because I want to see my club be good again. And I get that. But I'm just, like I said, I don't believe Sir Jim. He's not a diehard fan like us. He's not a diehard fan of the sport. He's one of those guys that like, I like football. I like Manchester United. He hasn't dedicated his whole life to it. He's not a lifelong Manchester United fan like we are. Um, he hasn't watched every single game of every season. I don't think Sir Jim was building Ineos somewhere and he's watching Manchester United on his mobile phone like us when we have to go to work and there's a match and you're sneaking into the bathroom for 20, 30 minutes out of your workday to go watch Manchester United while they're playing a match in the middle of your workday. I don't think Sir Jim has called out a day out of work to go watch because Manchester United are playing a quarterfinal in some cup. I don't. So when he says lifelong Manchester United fan, I don't buy it in that sense. He's more of, I guess, a casual, I would say. Hesty says if that project is failing, then probably they would sell the club. There's the hope. Well, maybe. We've talked about this before. I mean, we don't know how it would necessarily go. You would like to hope so, Hesty. I like to hope so. I don't know if that necessarily means it happens. You would think that, I mean, if the project fails, shit's going to be so bad that they're going to be forced into selling. But at the same time, I also know how the Glazers are greedy little gremlins. And I can see a scenario where they try to cling on to their life and literally exhaust every single avenue they possibly can to try and hang on to Manchester United. And I also feel like they're so greedy that at the detriment of the club, because they have never done anything for the betterment of the club, only the betterment of themselves, I can see a scenario where they might be in a situation where they almost basically have to sell, and like the club needs them to sell, but they will put the club in a detrimental spot just to hang on to it. So I mean, if we ever get there, we'll get there and we see what happens, but you can't really say right now because we don't know the fine details. We don't know what situation they'll actually be in. Also, they're kind of, I liken them to sneaky little rats. You just don't know what options they might try and pull. They might try and do. You don't know what they necessarily can and cannot do. We are the outsiders. They are the ones on the inside. Lyle says it's going to be the biggest party ever recorded once we lift 21. Yeah, that too. Niche fan says, who else is out there with 10 Billy? There has to be someone out there. I mean, there might be a couple. I mean, I can't really think of. Listen, there's tons of people out there with 10 Billy. It's just that you have to be 10 Billy and you have to be interested in buying United. And that's one of the other problems is you need somebody that has 10 Billy that is a fan of football and that also likes Manchester United. Because for straight up businessmen, which we don't want anyway, ideally, but just for business in general, I mean, if you're not a fan of football, to buy something for 10 billion, that's probably not really worth 10 billion, but the Glazers will value it at 10 billion. Not really worth 10 billion, and also at the same time, then have to pay the debt of the Glazers. You got to be a fan because from a business standpoint, it makes no sense. And that's kind of why also Qatar pulled out because it was a little bit of pride. I mean, the Glazers were taking them for a piss and trying to get the most out of them, but just in terms of a little bit of pride, I mean, they weren't going to do a deal where they look like fools. They really want Manchester United. They like Manchester United, but they weren't, as the club says, they're not going to be held to ransom. And that was one of the things, because in that world, they will get the piss taken out of them. Been like, you gave these guys 6 billion or 7 billion and you paid their debt. Like people will laugh at them. Like the billionaires of the world will laugh at them. They will be a laughing stock. And the Glazers will look like absolute champions. And people will be glazing the shit out of them. I don't know who Anat Ambani is, but Niche fan says, but didn't Sir Jim say that he saved the Glazers and the club from bankruptcy? Well, he said that he saved the club from bankruptcy. I don't know if that means he saved the Glazers from bankruptcy. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But he did say that. He said the club was going to go bust by Christmas. So I don't know if that means that he saved both the club and the Glazers from bankruptcy. I don't even know if that's actually true or not. That might just be PR from Sir Jim to a certain standpoint. So Lyle said not Glazers, but he helped United to run dry with cash in the bank. Yeah. So I don't know. We are going to have to get going. I'm going to double check to see if we got any updates in the last few minutes while we've been here. So we do have one from Sam C that I see so far 3 minutes ago, saying United are understood to be admirers of Sesko all-around game and believe his style would suit the Premier League. I think so. I just, again, it has to be the fee that they demanded. I think is a ridiculous fee because I don't think he's worth that. I don't think his stats and what he's done over the past like 2 or 3 seasons, I don't think demands that transfer fee. They might argue you're paying a bit for potential, but I think it has to come down. But I think overall, if you could get a good deal and a good fee, I think I'd probably prefer him over some of the other strikers. Definitely. Um, I would probably take him over Ollie Watkins, to be fair. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm being biased or something. But one of the other reports, also Sam C, about Benjamin Sesko, says that Benjamin Sesko would favor a move to Manchester United over the other destinations. He has been followed closely by United scouts for more than 3 years, and the club has been in contact again this year. Well, let's see what happens. We're getting striker news now, even though the Mbuemo deal isn't done, but Sam C also saying Benjamin Sesko is open to a Manchester United move. Despite no European football, United have told potential new signings they need to sell in order to buy. So, yeah, I think they've at this point. I don't think it's like I don't think it's paper talk. I think it's very clear that once we complete Mbuemo, I think we're going to be focusing on outs, and we're going to have to sell a couple players before we get anybody in. So I think what we're going to be looking at is once Mbuemo is actually confirmed in terms of like we get a here we go or whatever. I think the shift is going to just end up going towards like the likes of Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Anthony, et cetera, et cetera. Who knows how long that's going to take? Hopefully, it doesn't take too long because I think we can't take too long on that because we need to make moves to get somebody else in. Um, but they've been very adamant about that. It's been very consistent that it's Cunha and Bumo, and then we got to sell to figure out what we can do after that. Um, so apparently, Ornstein in May reported on NBC um, that the two strikers United were looking for at the time were Delap and Sesko. So let's see, because Ornstein said that back in May on NBC. He said the two targets we had at the time was Delap and Sesko. So maybe we end up going in for Sesko after we get some sales. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I would be happy with Sesko. If we end up getting Sesko, I'd feel a lot better about the way things are going, and um, especially after losing Gyökeres to Arsenal, and also I know this might maybe doesn't mean anything, but the fact that Arsenal were in for Sesko gives me a little bit, um, it gives me a little bit more positivity towards him because Sesko. I mean, Arsenal have been recruiting incredible. They've transformed their team, and the fact that they were going for him first over Gyökeres um, makes me just think that it would probably be generally be a good buy for us. I mean, if Arsenal were in for him and they thought he were good, obviously the price was the one that ruined it for them. And Arteta wanted Gyökeres and um, Andrea Berta, who is their director of football, wanted Sesko. Um, but Andrea Berta is an excellent director of football anyway. So let's just see. Is there anything else before we get out of here? Oh, it's Yap Stam's birthday as well. So happy birthday to the legend Yap Stam. Yip yap, yip yap. Shares the birthday with my uncle. That's what's up. That's what's up. My uncle is a Stoke City fan, by the way. Don't ask how that happened. I have no clue, but he is a Stoke City fan. He loves his Stoke. He loves his Stoke. He has our family bar is decorated with all types of Stoke City stuff. Stoke City kits, signed kits, pictures of Stoke City players from the '60s and the '70s and the '80s, black and white photos. He is absolutely Stoke City through and through. He is a huge Stoke City fan. So I don't know how. My family from my father's side literally is my father is a United fan. My other uncle is a Spurs fan. And then my uncle, who his birthday is today, he is a Stoke City fan. So we got 2 out of 3 are in the Premier League. The other one is hanging out in the lower leagues. But I do have to go, guys, because I got somebody coming to pick me up. So I got to get ready, and they're on their way. So I will catch you guys later. Be good. Thank you for tuning in. Smash the like button on your way out if you didn't hit the like button. If you're new and you just subscribed, we appreciate you for subscribing. I got to see when we're going to go live next. I mean, maybe it depends if Mbuemo done deal gets done, and we'll probably have to go live. Tomorrow, I don't think we're going to stream because I don't think I'm going to be available. So if you didn't join the Discord, join the Discord because I keep you guys updated there, and it's the best possible way for you to know when we're going live next. But keep an eye out. Appreciate it, every single one of you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for being here. Thank you for getting involved in the chat, giving your opinions. Excellent show. Excellent show. And you guys are the legends and the greatest there ever was. And we'll speak very soon. And hopefully United get this deal very, very quickly done, and we can move on to other things really, really soon. So be good. Everybody have a good night or morning or evening, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and we'll chat very, very soon. Take care. Have a good one. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you all. Love you all.